Against the Ropes podcast.
Contra las cuerdas.
Against the Ropes podcast.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. AtR podcast, Gio Garcia, alongside Christian Mosqueda, back for more. Another big week in boxing. The face of boxing obviously is back. But of course, we got to talk a little bit about Zhang and Joyce as well. Big knockout, possibly knockout of the year. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, like you said, Gio, a big weekend in boxing coming up. We had to wait a little bit, a couple days, a couple weeks after that September 15, 16 date. But the face of boxing is here, and like you said, the heavyweights just did action, man, and that was something I was looking forward to seeing. Man, I got to ask you, were you shocked with the decision? What are your thoughts on the winner, Zhang?
All right, let's go ahead and begin with that heavyweight action. Zhang once again stopping Joyce. I was disappointed. I came out here last week. You predicted the knockout. I said, hey, I'm going to give Joyce some credit. I think he's going to be able to survive. I thought he was going to have a different game plan. He came in heavier, looked super slow. But I thought, he was going to have more pride and more skill than that. I thought he was going to be content to survive. But since round one, Zhang came out, started putting work on him, started landing big punches, and you can tell right away mismatch. The first one was not a fluke at all. Of course, I don't think most of us doubted that Zhang was going to win, but I was giving Joyce more credit. I was very, very disappointed. 3 rounds, that's all he lasted. At the end of the third, took a big right hook, and that was it. Credit to him, he got up. But referee, of course, made the right decision, and Joyce was stopped in just 3. I was a bit disappointed by that.
Yeah, like you said it. I predicted the knockout, but I also was, kind of siding with you in that I would not have been surprised if Joyce were to go the distance, if he were to have learned from it, if he would have even made it last past the 6 rounds like he lasted that first time out, but. Like you said, it just shows that Zhang is no fluke. He is not to be overlooked. He just injected himself in that heavyweight picture. I believe he's in his late 30s, but anytime some big guy like that does something like this to a top 10, you got to rally behind him. And so, again, yeah, disappointing for Joyce to only last 3 rounds. But again, it's all credit to Zhang and what kind of fighter he is, boxer type. He sets up the knockout, and he did, and a beautiful highlight knockout for Zhang.
Yeah, and Zhang actually, I think he's 40 already. You guys might want to fact check that, but I think he's 40 years old already. If not, he's close. So look, he needs a big fight. Put the question there up on your screen. Is he ready for a big fight? I think if he's not a top 5 heavyweight at the moment, he's probably number 6. Of course, you have Fury, Usyk, Joshua, Deontay. I think you got to put Reese in there. And then there's Zhang in that mix as well. The Cuban Flash. Frank Sanchez is going to fight this weekend, also on the Canelo undercard. Also one of those guys in the mix. But, I think it's time for a big fight. He doesn't have much time. He's an Olympian. He started his career very late, his pro career. But he looked great against Joyce, 6'6". I think he weighed in at a 287 or something like that. Big guy, big body, but he showed a lot of quickness, great skill, great combinations there, and it made it look easy against Joyce. I know Joyce said he was not planning on retiring, but I think that's it for him. And Joyce, I believe he's 38 now. He doesn't have many fights. I think this was his 16th, 17th pro fight. Now 2 losses to Zhang. But I think that's it for him in terms of fighting for a title. And he could have got a big fight against maybe a Joshua Fury. Maybe that can still happen, but I don't think he'll get to be world champ. And on the other hand, Zhang, looking very good, looking dangerous. Not sure if that's good enough to beat the champions, Usyk or Fury, but I think those fights will be interesting if they do happen.
Yeah, and it's interesting that because Joyce, he was undefeated before he fought a Zhang, and it's almost a little like just showing him the back door. But more than anything, this one shows that this second fight shows maybe that his mind, his heart, his will is no longer there. He had a good rise, beat good fighters, Dubois and the like, but against someone that's I want to say a complete boxer fighter in Zhang, he just got picked apart. And he got picked apart even faster in this rematch. So, again, it's probably more to do with his mental state, what's going on outside of that ring. He was never going to be a Zhang, but I predicted for him to last longer, to give a better account of himself, and he failed to do so. So I agree with you that we always wonder how far can these heavyweights go, especially when they're rallying wins, after win after win. And obviously you got a country behind you, but as for champion, I think Joyce is only going to get those chances when the champion is red hot and they see you as just a stay busy fight. That's the kind of chances he'll get at the championship. But to say that he has a chance to win it after these two, I doubt it. As for Zhang, he puts himself in there. I think he, outside of Tyson, Fury, and Usyk, he's the best boxer that I've seen. This guy, I said on the last podcast, when I saw him the first time in the fight, I was like, I felt ashamed that I didn't know more about him. Somebody with those skills deserves a little bit more respect, and now we're paying attention. And like you said, Joe, he's in his late 30s, early 40s. He's got to make it happen soon. And I don't doubt that, with the Chinese fan base behind they're going to start getting behind him. They're going to market him that way. He's going to get a title shot. I would like to see him against an Andy Ruiz, maybe somebody not in the top 2, but, right there, build him up. And, I want to see more of Zhang for sure.
Yeah, I remember when he first came onto the scene, it was a big deal. Obviously, huge guy. He has, like you said, the backing of a billion Chinese people, So, I've been paying attention to his career for a while. He's always exciting. A lot of people thought he didn't lose that fight. The one he lost, I don't want to mispronounce his opponent's name, European guy. But that was controversial. A lot of people thought he got robbed. That's his only loss. He's 26-1, And Big Bro here in the comments saying he beats Wilder and Elandi Ruiz, he says. Light Skin James says Zhang versus Frank Sanchez. We'll see how Sanchez does this weekend. And Jesus coming in hot, of course, as always. He says Joyce and Cepeda retire. Big Bro says Joyce got laid down like a baby. Yeah, man, it was a beating. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see what's next. Like I said, he doesn't have much time, so he needs a big fight. And wow, you put him up there with Fury and Usyk as far as like the best boxers. So he definitely has skill for the heavyweight division. And, you know, a lot of people are still doubting him. You know, you see it there. He's a southpaw. He's got some skills, obviously, man. Quick hands for his size. So, you know, all those fights are interesting. You know, obviously, there was Tyson Fury rumors before this second fight with Joyce happened. You know, Fury has been talking about him, and he actually has been speaking respectful of him, you know, saying he has skills and all that. So, you know, that was a possible matchup before Joyce exercised that rematch against him. Obviously, AJ in the UK, that's a big fight. Andy Ruiz, Deontay Wilder. If you did that fight in China, it's a big fight over there. Usyk just, I wouldn't say struggled a bit against Dubois, but we all saw what happened there. It was a bit controversial, so I'd like to see Usyk against a big guy like that, 6'6", 285. That would be interesting, and to me, he's getting a big fight, period, because of his age. He has to. I think they're going to push for it, top rank. Like I said, in China, big opportunities. Obviously, in the UK, we know the Saudis are throwing bags at everyone. So I think the big fight next for Zhang.
I'm gonna put you in the hot seat, Gio. I'm gonna put you in the hot seat. I'm gonna put you in the hot seat when it comes to Zhang fighting somebody like a Deontay Wilder. We've seen Deontay fight boxer-esque fighters. Tell me how a fight between Zhang and Wilder will turn out.
I think it turns out like the King Kong fights. You know, Wilder was losing both of those fights until his power came through. You know, I think something similar happens in the fight with Zhang. Now, Zhang much bigger than King Kong, quicker, I would say. Not sure if he has that level of boxing skill. He might. We'll have to wait and see it. But Deontay definitely struggled, you know, and he struggles against boxers. We saw what Fury did to him 3 times. So I think Zhang can win, you know, 12 rounds, but I'm not sure if he can avoid that right hand.
Hey, when you were comparing him to King Kong, I thought you were gonna say like 20 years younger.
Oh,
you know,
man.
No, but yeah, they have some things in common. Obviously King Kong has a more experience, but like you said, Wilder does struggle against the boxers. You can see him losing early rounds to somebody like Zhang, and obviously Zhang is gonna have to. He's seen the blueprint by Tyson. You're gonna have to hurt this guy, you know, before he's able to, you know, land that right. And the more rounds that go on, the better chance Deontay sometimes has, even when he's hurt. So I think Zhang gets motivation from seeing that Tyson Fury fight, where Tyson in that first fight, he was a little hesitant to mix it up. He kind of respected that power a little too much. But as soon as Tyson Fury took the fight to Wilder, he pretty much had him out on his feet. So I'm thinking Zhang, I want to give him a little bit more credit. I want to say he's carrying this momentum. And even though he's lacking the experience factor when it comes to championship level fights, I think he's got that hunger. I feel like he finally feels like he's got another chance at cracking at a world title shot. So, and that's one fight I would love to see. Is there another fight that you think that he can make and it can sell for the fans?
I like to see Andy Ruiz, man. Andy Ruiz looking for an opponent. I'm not sure Andy's ready for the top guys, but I think a fight with Zhang would be very, very interesting. And then some guys here saying Fury will find a way to duck him. Jez checking in. Shout out to Jez. Shout out to Clyde checking in as well. There's a lot of great fights in the heavyweight division. I wouldn't mind watching Frank Sanchez. Frank Sanchez, who defeated Efe Ajagba. You know, Efe, heavy hitter. You know, he was supposed to be the next guy. You know, PBC. It looked like they were going to market him as the next Wilder, right? Knockout artist. But, you know, Frank Sanchez was able to defeat him. So, you know, there's so many, all those guys I'd like to see Zhang in against them. But I think, you know, I would favor a matchup with like an Andy Ruiz or a Usyk, man. A Usyk, why not? I know a lot of people were saying they'd favor him over a guy like Joshua too. So, you know, so many big fights to be made. He needs to just get one. At this point, I think those top three names, but at this point, I don't really have a preference for him. Not sure if you do. You're a big Usyk guy. Well, how do you think Usyk does against him?
I don't think he's ready for kind of Usyk. I think it would be competitive boxing style, boxing wise. Outside of Tyson Fury, I think Zhang gives Usyk, probably the best boxer-esque kind of competition. But if I'm Zhang's management team, I'm trying to put on my manager's hat and trying to see what's the best way we can maximize. Like you said, he's older. He's near his 40s if he's not 40 already. So you kind of have to maximize his earning potential in the last couple of years that he has with that Chinese fan base behind. So I'm thinking of the top three. Think of Tyson Fury, Usyk, maybe Joshua. I want to say I stay away from those guys right now. You see the other guys, the ones in the middle, the Wilder, the Andy Ruiz. I maybe take one of those fights. That one sells. Those are salivating kind of fights that gives them also experience. And then I think of the other guys out the contenders in the heavyweight, like you mentioned, Efegaba, Sanchez. So those guys, they're kind of risky as well. But I feel like he has a better chance at beating guys like those. So if I put on my manager's hat, oh man, I would take Andy Ruiz because those other the FAs and the Sanchez, those pose high risk and little reward. You put a guy like Andy, Wilder, that's high risk but high reward because people know those names. So I take one of those two guys, take that W because I do think he can beat an Andy Ruiz, and I do think he can beat a Wilder because he has that momentum right now. Those guys kind of had their moment in the sun. They already had that time. They probably already peaked a little bit because they've had the millions. They get a little comfortable after that, and then you cash out with the Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua or Usyk at the end, in my opinion. What do you think about that, Joe?
Wow, no, I agree. I agree 100%. Not sure he beats those guys, though. Not sure he beats those guys. People in the chat saying, let Gio talk. Damn, Chris taking all the airtime. Who should Richard Torres fight next? Someone's saying he should fight Anderson. Jerry Anderson's another guy, too. I've heard some people say, Zhilei Zhang possibly against Jared Anderson. That's another exciting fight. I think Anderson is skilled. Not sure if I'm completely sold on him, though. I know his last fight wasn't the greatest. There's a few fights that I've seen where he could have done better,
right,
taking his skill into consideration. But hey, heavyweight action, the heavyweights looking good right now. And you know what they say, it's usually a good measuring bar for boxing period, right? Where the heavyweight division is. I think right now it's hot. Unfortunately, the top guys are kind of doing their own thing. Obviously Fury, what he's doing next. I think it's this month, right? I don't think I'm going to talk about that fight at all. You can if you want, Chris, but Fury's coming up soon. AJ still in the mix. Usyk, we'll see what he does next. He just defeated Dubois controversially, and we'll see. I mean, it's a hot division, so I just want to see any of those top 8, top 9 guys fight against each other.
Yeah, I like Fury, but I'm boycotting him right now. And you know that we backed him up when he was fighting Wilder. We talked about those 3 fights and gave Fury all the props in the world. But hey, again, like we said on the podcast, just because we're a fan of you, you're not free of criticism. So I'm boycotting him and this fight. And even though everybody is gonna watch that fight, all the MMA fans, people that like Tyson, they're still gonna tune in and watch that fight. But I'm boycotting it. I don't want to talk too much about it because I did say that this year was a banner year for boxing, and the thing that was missing on this cake was the cherries on top, the cream of the crop, which are the heavyweights, and they have yet to deliver. Not saying that that none of them want to fight. There's a few that they've been pushing to fight each other, but Tyson's not one of them. So I'm boycotting our boy right now. As for, I think that's a good question that whoever posed that about where do we have Torres and Anderson, obviously the 2 Americans in the heavyweight division. That's a good question. For me, as of right now, I see them as Dubois type fighters. They haven't shown me much. Obviously, you've seen Torres is a little undersized for a heavyweight. I like the kid. He's funny. He's always active on social media. He's doing that entertaining factor. So I do like the kid. I just feel like right now they're just showing me Dubois, Joseph Parker kind of potentials. Anderson's probably the more talented of those two. I do like him. Skill set is there. Like you said, he was a little flat in his last fight, but that tends to happen when you're going up in competition. But as of right now, I'm not sold on them completely. Again, they're contenders outside of contendership. I keep them away from the Sanchez and from the FA right now. I don't think they're ready. Eventually, they're going to have all those guys that we mentioned to even be considered contenders right now. Very talented guys. One is undersized. The other one just, not there yet. But we'll see where they're at. And, again, we're here to be proven wrong.
All right, Chris. Jess says Reese will sell. I agree. He also says Zhang versus Old Man King Kong. Man, that's like a Liga de los Veteranos, huh? Like 50 and over boxing fight.
Yeah.
Jesus says Andy needs to get off unemployment. Yeah, these guys got to fight, man. These guys got to fight. But what, Chris? Let me tell you. Let's go to the main event, man. This is what people came to listen to. Give us your last thoughts on Zhang's victory, demolition of Joyce, and then we can get on to the big fight right there that you guys see on your screen. Saul Canelo Alvarez against Jermell Charlo.
For me, just amazing. Right now, he's carrying that heavyweight division, in my opinion. Even a guy like Usyk, who he's a world champ. Even he didn't, convince me this last fight out. But yeah, if anybody's saving the heavyweight division right now, is Zhang, like straight up.
Yeah, and he said at the end of the post-fight press interview, he says, who would like to see me shut Tyson Fury's mouth up, So, they've been jabbing back and forth. So hopefully, I hope he gets that big payday before, he retires. I think he has maybe another 2 years left in him. He'll probably be 42 at the time, 43. I think once you start pushing to 44 or 45, it gets dangerous. So big ups to Z-Lay. We'll see where he lands on those lists of knockout of the year. This was a spectacular one. I think what was a little more spectacular was the fact that Joyce got up. 9 out of 10 guys would have been laying down flat on their face. Joyce got up, obviously woozy, wobbly. Fight had to end there, but he got up. We'll see what's next for Joyce. And to me, big fight guaranteed for Zhang, the Chinese boxing star at the moment, according to Chris, carrying the heavyweight division. Hey, not much going on, man. Not much going on besides that controversy in the Usyk fight. I don't see too many big fights, but we'll see. We'll see. Frank Sanchez fighting this weekend. Let's see how he does on that Canelo undercard. And I think that's a good segue into the main event, possibly of the year, Chris. When the face of boxing fights, everybody watches. Everybody. Even those guys. What do you call them, Chris?
The mainstream fans, like the casuals.
There you go. That's what I was looking for. So, everybody will be tuned in. Let's see how this does pay-per-view wise. But you see it there, Saturday, September 30th. Saul Canelo Alvarez against Jermell Charlo. Undisputed battle, of course. Charlo undisputed at 154. Canelo undisputed at 168. Not sure we've seen that before. I think this is the first time, right, in history, undisputed champion versus undisputed champion. Of course, a lot of people are going to be upset about the fact that Charlo's quote unquote smaller than Canelo, fights 14 pounds 14 pounds lighter than Canelo, on the scales, at least on that Friday, right, when they weigh in. But you guys see it there. You guys see the size difference. Charlo taller. I'm sure he'll probably be heavier on fight night. Let's see how that factors in. But should be an exciting event. There's really good cards. There's really good fights on that undercard. We'll get into it, Chris. Not sure if you have that list there. If not, I'll give you some time to pull it up. But yeah, good overall card. We will be purchasing this. And look, people are already dropping their predictions, Chris. Man, they're ready. They're ready for Goat Nello, as they call him here in the chat.
Well, like you said, it's definitely going to be the event that everybody's going to be tuning in. Everybody from a boxing fan to a casual fan, everybody's going to be tuning in. People that like boxing, people that don't like boxing, people that don't know nothing about boxing, people that think that they know something about boxing but don't really know. Everybody's going to be watching this. It sells itself in a way. It's Canelo, obviously a Mexican icon against a good old American throwback kind of fighter. Those are the best kinds of, in my opinion, fights that I like to see and that a lot of people like to see. You have the race, you have the nationalities, you got, Mexico and USA, neighboring countries, and they don't like each other. It makes for good boxing, good TV. I was surprised that they were respectful, Gio. I don't know how you if you like more of that trash talk or if you like this, subtle respect between them. What are your thoughts on that and the build-up for this event?
I was a bit surprised, but I don't care, honestly. I don't get into all the Chris talking about nationalities and stuff, man. It's a fight. I just want to watch the fight. I want to see the best man win, and sometimes not even that happens, man. Sometimes boxing can shock you. Do I think it's going to happen in this fight? Not at all. But I think it's going to be a good competitive fight. Some people here predicting a stoppage already, a KO. Man, there's so much to talk about here. I don't want to waste time talking about the trash talk or where they're from, where they're not from. I think let's get straight to the point, Chris. Big fight, undisputed versus undisputed. What do you want to start with? Let's not drop our predictions yet. I'm still kind of going back and forth, but and I'll go ahead and read the polls and all that stuff. Did some polls on Twitter, Instagram, on YouTube as well. I'll get a chance to read those before we give our official predictions. But go ahead, take it away, Chris. What do you want to get started?
Let's get started with can Jermell Charlo hurt Canelo? In your opinion, can Jermell Charlo hurt Canelo? Obviously, they're talking about the size difference, but Carmelo's he's no small fighter. He's got that height advantage on Canelo. He's been knocking guys out previously. In your opinion, can he hurt Canelo?
All right. Well, I'm gonna break it down for you because I wrote some stuff down. Before I get into that, I'm gonna get into some comments here. Big Bro says Charlo ain't been nowhere near this level. Won't be able to take the pressure after middle rounds. He's gonna feel it, like Canelo said. B, shout out to B, says Charlo ain't at their levels. Jess says Charlo wins. He also says big payday with a check next to it. Charlo thinks he's playing mind games by being all calm and respectful. Big Bro says no way in hell. He has 19 KOs in 37 fights. All right, let's get into it. So Charlo, 35 wins, 19 only by knockout, right? Now, let me tell you this. How does that compare to Canelo opponents, right? Because Canelo has fought the top guys at 54, 60, 68, and some of the guys at 75 as well, right? So how does that compare? 19 KOs and 35 wins for Charlo, who actually has a good streak as of late in his last 10, 15 fights getting KOs. Earlier on in his career, he wasn't getting as many, but 35 wins, 19 KOs. Keep that in mind, all right? Some of the power punchers that Canelo faced, Kovalev, 35 wins, 29 KOs. So he didn't stop only 6 guys, right? Canelo took his power. Right. Triple G, 42 wins, 37 KOs. His power didn't seem to bother Canelo in 3 fights, right? So only 5 guys survived against Triple G in those in his victories. A guy like Daniel Jacobs, 37 wins, 30 KOs, right? That's 11 more than Charlo. 11 more KOs. Didn't do anything to Canelo. Even a guy like Callum Smith, who's knocking guys out at 75 now, 29 wins, 21 KOs, right? Guy like James Kirkland. A lot of people don't give Canelo credit for that win, but Kirkland, 34 wins, 30 KOs. Only 4 guys he didn't knock out in his victories. Even a guy like Shea Mosley earlier in Canelo's career, 49 wins, 41 KOs, right? None of these guys were ever able to hurt Canelo. Charlo, 35 wins, 19 KOs. He does not hurt Canelo at all, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Does your answer?
Joe, you have it looks like I froze up on the screen, but this is Christian coming to you live. You can hear my voice, you can hear my thoughts. No, you have a good point. Obviously, Canelo has a power factor to him. Charlo has, been knocking guys out recently, so that power is surging late. I feel like as he gets bigger, he's finding his stride, he's finding his power. He's getting, used to that bigger frame, bigger body. To answer my own question, I think he can hurt Canelo, but Canelo has such a poker face that he will not show when he's hurt. I'm pretty sure he was hurt against Vivo in a few moments, but he's got such a great poker face, like he doesn't show when he's hurt, and he's able to recover. He's got those boulder legs. He's able to recover. He's an elite fighter. He knows how to finish you. Obviously, Charlo is no Bebo. He doesn't have that size that Bebo has. So yeah, Canelo's gonna be able to find his moments, but I wouldn't discount Charlo. Again, he's got that momentum coming in. He's got nothing to lose. Of course, the event is going to be very big for him. It's going to be a lot of bright lights. Again, I think it's the only thing that goes against him, obviously, other than having a world-class opponent like Canelo, is that emotion. He might just get too emotional in there and get caught. But again, it's going to be a great fight, in my opinion, Gio. And yeah, man, I cannot wait to see it.
And you made a great point because, just before the podcast, I was watching Charlo against Castaño 1. Of course, that's the fight that most of us saw Castaño winning, right? Honestly, I scored maybe 3-4 rounds for Charlo, being nice. One judge gave him 117 to 111 to Charlo. I mean, that was disgusting. Highway robbery. The other two guys had it close by 1 point, and then one judge had it a draw. But yeah, Castaño was able to land more punches. He was able to land about 60 more power punches in that fight against Charlo. Chris is right there frozen up too, but guess what? Charlo was frozen when Castaño hit him too. So there was not that much of a difference. And look, every time Castaño hurt him, he showed it. Like you said, he's an emotional guy. He has a terrible poker face. You will never know when Canelo's hurt. He's always calm and collected. Charlo's the complete opposite. You land a good jab on him, he'll smile at you, he'll shake his head, he'll talk trash. He's very emotional. Every single punch that hurts him, he will let you know that it hurts. So against a guy like Canelo, you can't do that. You're going to have to beat Canelo physically, mentally, and a confident Canelo is a dangerous Canelo. I think you're going to see Charlo hurt a lot in this fight, but I will save my prediction for later. Now, going to... obviously some of the notable opponents, right? We talked about Canelo. We talked about his top 5 notable or best wins. I think most people will agree. Obviously, Triple G, guys like Lara, Trout, Cotto. Some people want to say Kovalev, Callum Smith. Jacobs is up there. Who am I missing? Callum Smith. A lot of names. When you look at Charlo, you got to give him credit because he stopped, in his biggest fights, he was able to stop those guys. I think he stopped Lubin in 1 round. Castaño was later in that rematch, after losing the first time. Same with Harrison. And of course, on paper, he didn't lose against Castaño, but we all know what we saw. They gave it a draw. But the second time against, I don't know, Chris, what's going on over there? Let me change my screen. Let's see if he's back or not. But obviously against... Harrison, he was able to do the same thing. He lost the first time around, and then the second time he was losing too, and he was able to stop him with a good, powerful punch. But you got to give him credit for that. He also stopped Rosario. But like Big Bro said, a lot of that is weight bullying, right? He's fighting guys who are smaller. Castaño's 5'7", 154-pounder. Charlo had about a 6-7 inch reach advantage against a smaller Castaño. Castaño was able to bully him in that first fight. He pushed him back, had him against the ropes, got him hurt a few times. And that's a 5'7" Castaño, right? Who isn't the most skilled boxer in the world. So you just got to wonder, what is Canelo going to do to him when he gets him against the ropes? Castaño was able to counter some of his punches too. We're talking about the best counter puncher in boxing in Canelo. So, everything is stacked against Charlo, even though he is a good fighter. Like Chris said, he's a good fighter, but let me tell you this. He's a good fighter. Canelo's a great fighter. That's the difference. And I think we're going to see that, along with the weight. Charlo's not used to fighting at such a heavy weight class for him. He should be fighting there. All the guys who are 6 feet tall are fighting at 160, 168, 175. The guy still chooses to fight at 54. Power to him. If he could make 54, great for him. But, I don't think he hurts Canelo. And on the other hand, I think Canelo can hurt him constantly in this fight. Now, let's see if Chris is back up here. Chris, do you hear me?
I hear you.
All
Am
right.
I back on?
There he is. Yes, you're not on the screen, but you are on the audio. So, yeah, I can hear you.
All right, we'll take the audio. So I got to ask you, Gio, if you're Jermell Charlo, what's the best strategy that you have for defeating somebody like Canelo Alvarez?
Best strategy for defeating Canelo Alvarez is on the coach, man. You better pray. I don't know to who. To the Lions, to the boxing gods. You better pray to somebody, man. Because, look, Errol Spence took a beating, man. And for some reason, we keep bringing this guy up on the podcast right here. You see the face. But if you look at most of the polls, most of the people who were talking about that fight with Errol Spence, most people thought he had a chance. Most people were favoring Errol Spence. He got whooped. In this fight against Charlo, I see them struggling a lot. Against Castaño, against Harrison, it's not like they fixed much in the second fight, in those second fights. I think Charlo is who he is. He's a guy who doesn't throw many punches. He's a guy who throws power punches. He's a guy who at times throws wild punches, doesn't have the best head movement. He's going to struggle. I don't think Derek James is going to be able to do anything about it. I don't think there's anything he can say to save Charlo. We talked about last week about how no one is talking about that battle anymore, right? Eddie Reynoso, Derek James. Obviously, Eddie took a couple L's with Oscar Valdez, with Canelo losing as well. Derek James took that big L with Spence against your boy Crawford. So no one's talking about that battle, but I think at the end of the day, it's not going to be relevant. There's nothing Derek James could do to save Charlo, in my opinion. And before we go on to the next question, Chris, let's go to some comments here. People are going off on the comment section. Big Bro says, if G or Kovalev couldn't hurt him, Jermell won't. Jess says, honestly, Canelo won't get any credit when he wins, which is facts. Let's see, what else we got? Unless something crazy happens and Canelo ages overnight, he can't hurt him. G was the only one who seemed to have felt his power in the first fight, especially. And Mad Dog coming in hot. He says Charlo going to get slept in the 11th. If Castaño wobbled Charlo, says Big Bro, imagine Canelo landing on him, especially those body shots. Mad Dog says Trout, who actually fought both of them. But going back to that Castaño point, Charlo in that fight fought with a very high guard. He was headhunting. He almost threw no body punches against Castaño. And on the other hand, Castaño was able to land on that body, whenever he went down there. So, I think Charlo's style is perfect for Canelo. When you hit Charlo, he doesn't always throw back. He was able to hurt Castaño with the counter left. You got to watch out for that punch in this fight. That counter left by Charlo, very good punch. But at 9 times out of 10, when Castaño was landing, whether it was a jab or a power punch, he was throwing those wild hooks too. When he was landing, 9 times out of 10, Charlo wasn't throwing anything back. So from what I saw, if you make Charlo doubt, he's not going to pull the trigger. He's just going to put his hands up close to his face, close to his chin. And that's obviously very beneficial to Canelo. So there was a point I wanted to make here. I forgot what it was going to be, But Chris, do you want to go straight into the predictions or do you want to save it? I don't know if you have your prediction in mind already. Or if you're even awake.
I have it now, but I want to ask a question before we jump into it. So, pending a shocking win for Charlo, what's a moral victory? What kind of decision? What kind of fight does he that even in defeat he still gets a moral victory? In your opinion?
I think if Charlo is able to win 4 rounds, I think that's going to be great for him, and he's going to feel good about himself. I think if he's able to go to 12, honestly, I think that's his goal. Of course, they're going to say, oh, we're going to win this fight. We're going to become undisputed. I think in the first few rounds, they'll probably find out that, that's an uphill battle. Probably won't be able to do it. Going to 12 is going to be very good for him in his career and his coach and his team, as long as he doesn't get hurt too much. But, yeah, I think if he's able to steal like 4 rounds, I think that would be a win for him in his eyes. What would it be for you? I don't know if you're giving Charlo more credit than I am.
Give him a little bit more credit. Obviously, I know how this fight is going to go out, but I give him some credit. I think he's got that uppercut that can shock Canelo, a smaller fighter. Height-wise, not body-wise, but height-wise, that up could be problems. And I'm not saying he's Canelo, but he does have tools to something big. Not sure if he's going to be able to do that. Catches him on some counters and breaks him down. But I give him some credit.
You think he gets 4 or 5 rounds against Canelo? Assuming it goes to 12.
Yeah. I think he can get rounds.
How many? Can you repeat that?
I say he can get 4.
You can get 4? Okay. Big Bro says Charlo too emotional to stick to the game plan as well. He'd be brave and try to bang at times. Charlo is not as slick as Plant. Big Bro says he can't replicate what Bivol did. Doesn't have the skills, doesn't have the power, jab, or chin that Triple G has either. His best chance is Canelo aging overnight. Now, what Canelo do you think we'll see, Chris? He has been training in Lake Tahoe in the altitude. He looks great. I think against Bivol, he didn't look... I don't want to say he looked a little flabby, but he didn't look like the usual Canelo to me, at least. He looked a little heavier. You can see it like in his stomach area and some of those pictures and the weigh-in and all that. Now he looks slimmer. He looks better. Obviously, that fight was at 75. This fight is at 68. But to me, he just looks better. And from what it sounds like, too, he feels better. He feels healthy. That hand seems to be healthy now. But what do you think? Do you think we'll see the Canelo that we're used to seeing dominating and being that great counter puncher, power puncher, or will we see, a little bit of what we saw against Bivol and Ryder, the older Canelo, you can say?
I believe we're going to get flashes of that Canelo. I think the Canelo that fought Triple G in fight. I don't believe he's the guy that ran through that anymore. I think we'll get flashes. I think Canelo at 8, 90% of what he was at peak. I think that's still enough to beat a guy like Charlo. Can he get older? Yeah, of course. We don't know really what is going on outside of that that squared circle. We don't know how his body's. He's been fighting since he was 15. Maybe it's already breaking down. We don't know these things. I think he still has enough to beat a guy like Charlo down and just win. Again, he's gonna be criticized. People will say, that's not the same Canelo. But again, people forget that he's been fighting 5, 6 more than the average boxer. So I say we enjoy it. If he's starting to slip like just enjoy these last 4 years that he.
Chris, you're cutting in and out. You're cutting in and out, so I'm gonna cut you. I think guys like AP will never be happy. He says Charlo's moving up to weight classes and has been off for 16 months. Al Heyman just signed Canelo to a 3-fight deal. You think they're about to let their cash cow lose? Only way Charlo can win is by KO. I don't think this guy maybe watched the fight against Bivol, right? Because I'm pretty sure Bivol won a decision. And people want to make it seem like that fight was not close. Maybe those people got to watch the fight, one, or maybe two, watch it again. But Charlo's not winning a decision simply because he's not good enough. He's not on Canelo's level. So I agree. If he wants to win, he has to win by KO. But yeah, he doesn't have the skills to beat a guy like Canelo for 7 rounds. You got to beat him 7 rounds. I don't think he'll get 5 rounds. If he gets 4, I think he's lucky. There's just levels to this, and Charlo's never been on that level. He's out here struggling against guys like Castaño, guys like Harrison. That's his level. His level is not Canelo. They're from a different planet, but I think nonetheless it's going to be a competitive fight. Go ahead.
Get a W, whether it's decision or knockout. 30th year.
Can you repeat that, Chris? You're cutting in and out. Sorry.
Yo.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Try it again.
Yeah, how shocking would it be for Charlo to get a W, whether decision or knockout comes September 30th?
I think it would be very shocking. I think if that happens, then I think it's officially the end of the Canelo era, right? I think, Canelo has over 60 fights professionally. So we don't see that now in today's boxing, especially the level of opponents that he's been fighting. I think I saw a stat where he's fought 18 world champions. If you make a list of all these guys, who people say Canelo should fight, whether it's Benavidez, the Charlos, whether it's Andrade, those guys all put together don't even come close to 18, right? Champions that they fought. So I think the run that Canelo's had has been great. But if he loses to a guy like Charlo, I think it's time to just do a victory lap, fight in Mexico, fight in Saudi Arabia, get the bag, and call it a day. He's 33 years old. I remember him saying something like he wants to fight until he's 35, 36. So he still has some time left, but I think if he loses his fight, it will be shocking, considering the fact that, Charlo already lost twice. One on paper, and then the Castaño one, they gave it a draw. But this is not a guy who's unbeatable. Like I said, 19 KOs in 35 fights. Doesn't have the greatest KO ratio, right? He has a lot of flaws. So if you lose to a guy like that, you being Canelo, then yeah, I think it's time to have those. It's time to have those talks like Errol Spence. A lot of guys saying Errol Spence, you got to hang him up. But yeah, I don't give. We like percentages, Chris. I think this is like an 85-15, 15% chance of Charlo winning.
Damn. That's disrespectful, but I see it. But
hey, watch the Castaño fight.
75-25.
Watch Castaño. Charlo won. Castaño bullied him. Canelo is only like an inch taller than Castaño, but Castaño much a smaller frame. Probably doesn't have the same reach. Smaller guy. If you look at that fight, Charlo looked much bigger than him, and Castaño was able to bully him. So, yeah, hey, you are who you are, man. Look, we got to see something that we've never seen before from Charlo. At 30-something years old, I don't know if he has any new tricks up his sleeve. I think he is who he is. Guy who isn't the quickest on his feet, doesn't have the best head movement. A guy who at times throws wild punches. He's tailor-made, in my opinion, for Canelo.
Dang.
I'm just going based off what I see, Chris.
Prediction time.
All right.
What you got? Let it roll.
Prediction. Man, look. My official prediction is obviously I have Canelo winning. I think Canelo wins. I think Charlo survives. Like I said, I think it would be a victory for him if he goes 12. So I think he's going to do what he has to. I don't see him throwing many punches the second half of the fight. Guys who are bigger, stronger than Charlo, became gun shy. Look at Callum Smith. Callum didn't want to throw a punch in that second half of the fight. You're talking about a power puncher who's knocking everybody out at 175. He was afraid of what was coming in return, every time he threw a punch. Guys like Plant and Billy Joe Saunders aren't guys who throw many punches, but, Charlo isn't either, So I think once Charlo feels the power, he'll be content to survive. And I think Canelo wins, easy decision, probably like a 9-3. We'll see how well Charlo's chin holds up. He has a good chin. I think he's only been dropped once in his career. He has a good chin, but we'll see how his body holds up too, because those body punches are going to land all fight long, and that's why I think he won't throw many punches in this fight, in the second half, because once he starts getting hit to the body, upstairs is going to open up. He's not going to have any answers for Canelo, in my opinion. So I think Canelo can cruise through to a decision, kind of like Cotto style, in my opinion. But I think if he gets a little angry, he might go for the stoppage. I'm not sure, though. I'm not sure he gets a stoppage. I'm going to say decision for Canelo. I think it's up to him ultimately.
Charlo,
everybody in the chat saying he's going to get a KO. But I think it's ultimately up to Canelo.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with the chat. I say that Canelo knocked in the, I'm going to say the 9th round.
9th.
I've always said maybe last 7th round. You're not in the same level as that guy. I think Carlos will is going to get him in the round. So I say he gets caught. He gets 9th round knockout for Canelo.
9th. Man, Chris be confusing the shit out of me. He be trying to give Charlo more credit. And then he says, with all that being said, he's a great fighter, but he's getting knocked out in the 9th. Yeah, I'm going to put some respect on his chin. I think Canelo is just going to cruise through it, get some rounds in, get ready for Bivol. I think the Benavidez fight will happen. It looks like they're mandating it now. I think he's going to use this as rounds, man. I don't want to sound disrespectful, but I think he'll go 12, and he'll be all right with that. Let's go to some chat comments here. The chat is live today. Shout out to you guys. Charlo by SD says Jesus, but Canelo wins. Oh, man. Canelo in 8 or 9 says Big Bro. The KO by the 8th round says Chino Castillo. Charlo by SD, but Business of Boxing gifted Canelo. Oh, maybe you got to watch the first fight with Castaño. Jesus. Big Bro says Charlo definitely lost the Castaño fight. Yeah, like I said, I gave him maybe 4 rounds being nice, 3-4 rounds being nice. All 3 judges gave him the last 3 rounds. How? Not sure. But if he didn't win those last 3 rounds, he wouldn't have got a draw. And he definitely didn't win those last 3 rounds. That was pretty insane. B says he lost that first fight. It'll be competitive, says Big Bro, in the first few rounds because Charlo's length and athleticism, he's going to be moving a lot early. Yeah, and that's what he did against Castaño the first fight. He was actually backing up, trying to counter. So I think doing that against Canelo, I don't think that's going to work. I think you have to make Canelo uncomfortable. But, yeah, AP saying I got Canelo beating Charlo. Canelo doesn't need to cheat rounds to win. Castaño volume, Canelo no volume. Yeah, also Castaño 0 defense. Canelo great defense. Also Castaño not that much power. Canelo a lot of power. So there's a big difference. You can't compare Canelo and Castaño. similar size-wise, I would say, but Canelo miles above Castaño. And if Castaño was able to beat Charlo, Charlo in his prime at his best moment, he had 3 of the belts, it's going to be, I think it's going to be a whooping, man. It's going to be a whooping, but I think Charlo survives.
Yeah, let me just say, Gio, if Charlo to Canelo knock the world, I'll forget that Derrick James boy got whooped early in the year. Straight up.
Can you repeat that, Chris? Let's try it again. It was cutting in and out a little bit.
I said if Charlo were to win, I'll forgive Derrick James for losing that fight earlier in the year.
I lost that middle part. Something about Derrick James losing in something, or people are going to forget about it. Is that the question?
I'll forget about it.
Yeah, you can say that. You can say that. I don't know. That was a whooping, though. That was a bad whooping that Errol Spence took. And they had zero answer for Crawford, So I don't know. I think I think it cancels out. I don't know if we forget about it. Canelo cement feet, Castaño no cement. Oh man, have you watched Castaño fight? Jesus, that's crazy.
I don't disagree with him.
You think Canelo has heavier feet than Castaño?
I think he moves around the ring less.
Y'all gotta watch boxing, man. Y'all can't be saying stuff like that. Y'all gotta watch boxing. That's all I'm gonna say. Anyway, Chris,
it's gonna be a great fight.
You got anything else, Chris? Undercard.
No, it's gonna be a great. I can't wait for Saturday night. It's gonna be dope, man. I'm gonna be excited.
All right. Do you have the undercard on you, or should I look it up here real quick?
Yeah, can you pull it up, Joe?
I'll pull it up because the undercard is going to have Barrios. It's going to have him against Ugas. I know Elijah Garcia is fighting against Resendiz, I believe. There's some good fights there. And as I mentioned, Frank Sanchez as well. Frank Sanchez fighting on there. He trains with the Canelo team. Let me find it real quick. So it's going to be a good card. I think it's going to be worth it. I haven't checked the price out, but we're going to purchase it regardless. Got to watch the face of boxing of Canelo. 59, 2-2, 39 KOs. So he has 63 pro fights already. He's 33 years old. And let me look at the event here. So I can go ahead and read the undercard. Very good fight right here, too. Jesus Alejandro Ramos against Erickson Lubin. Ramos, of course, stopped Joey Spencer last time out. He also beat Brian Mendoza, who's fighting Tim Zhu, correct? They're fighting soon.
Right.
So that's a very good fight right there. I think Ramos should beat him. Erickson's been knocked out. He got some losses under his belt already, but that's still a good fight nonetheless. Yordenes Ugas, as I said, against Mario Barrios. Elijah Garcia, who's undefeated against Jose Armando Resendiz, who's 14-1, 10 KOs. He's from Nayarit, Mexico. Just defeated. He actually stopped Jarrett Hurd in his last fight. So that's going to be a good scrap right there. Elijah Garcia against Resendiz. Frank Sanchez fighting against Scott Alexander. Vosdik flying under the radar, but he's listed. He's fighting against Isaac Rodriguez. Vosdik, who's been kind of making a return. We had the opportunity to call one of his fights here. He was fought at a local LA show in Pomona, actually. I think he's working with that promotional company. I think No Boxing, No Life, if I'm not mistaken. So he's back on that undercard. Terrell Gaucher is also listed on there. Justin Veloria, Kermel I think that's the one you guys are talking about, right, in the chat. Kermel Moten. Not sure if I'm saying that right, but I hope so. Gabriel Goyas Valenzuela against Gabriel Solano. So it's a lot of fights on here. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 fights on that card. Of course, it's pay-per-view. Showtime, I'm guessing, is like $90 or something like that, $89.99. But it's going to be a good night of boxing.
Yeah, no, like the names that you just mentioned, dude, that's because when you have Canelo on the card, you don't respect the card. At least the promoters, that's yeah, a lot of great names. I mean, it's a treat. And again, that fight with Lubin, hey, expect to get knocked out. That one's going to be a highlight.
Yeah, someone's getting knocked out.
That guy that beat, that guy's good. That guy's a killer. So watch that. Wait for that.
Yeah, Bree says Jesus needs Jesus after those comments. Jesus says I need glasses. Oh, man. I'm just saying, I watched Castaño fight before. Maybe, man, that's crazy. That was a wild take. But Chino says Canelo has that chin power. What happened?
I was going to say, Castaño's no slap puncher. That guy.
We're talking about feet, though. He said Canelo has cement feet and Castaño doesn't.
I think he's trying to say that Canelo got them thighs. Yeah, I think he's trying to say that. I admit it.
No, I know what he's trying to say, but he's incorrect. He's incorrect.
I'm sorry, Jesus. I'm trying to help.
Hey, Jesus, do you think Benavidez has cement feet? I can't wait for this answer. All right. But before he answers, Canelo has a chin power if Charlo gets caught like he did with Castaño in the 5th, 6th round in the second fight. Chino says, yeah, I haven't watched that second fight again, but I know Castaño was able to get to him in like round 2 and then in the middle rounds too of the first fight. Castaño got caught twice too in that first fight against Charlo. But, you know, Charlo's a dangerous puncher. You know, when he gets in trouble, he'll start swinging wildly. You know, that's not going to work against a guy like Canelo, but, you know, it's still something to take note of. But yeah, look, it's going to be an intriguing fight. We'll be back next week to break it all down, how it all went down. Hopefully it's a good fight. Hopefully Charlo can last. I think for sure he goes past 6, you know, round 7, 8, 9, that's where he might get into a little bit of trouble, especially because he doesn't throw many punches, you know, in those 2 losses. Obviously, the official loss against Harrison and then the loss against Castaño, in the eyes of most of us, he takes a lot of rounds off. Like, he has moments where he doesn't throw punches, and you're not going to win like that against Canelo. So it's an uphill battle. I don't see how he does it. I think he has to hurt Canelo multiple times. He has a size advantage, as you see there in your screen on your screen, but I don't think that would be good enough. Benavidez, yes, cement feet, but throws volume. Interesting.
Not wrong. All right, Julio, question before we get out of here. Charlo gets knocked out. Does he get James Kirk knocked out, or does he get Billy Joe Saunders knocked out?
Ooh, man, that's crazy because they both got beat up. Billy Joe, of course, they had to stop the fight. Kirkland just got laid out, face to the canvas. Man, that's a good question. I'm trying to buy myself some time. I can see, I don't think it's probable, but I can see a Kirkland moment more so than a Billy Joe Saunders moment. Only because, you know, Charlo, he's tough. He's durable. You know, he can get wild. So I can see him getting caught with something there in between. But I don't think it's likely. But, yeah, that's a good question. But if I were to pick one, if I were to put money on one, it would be more of a Kirkland moment there where he gets laid out rather than him getting pummeled like Billy Joe and then basically quitting there on the corner. Not sure if you agree or
Yeah,
disagree with that. It can go either way.
I agree. I think it's possible to have the title thrown in. I think on his shield, just like while he gets opened up and boom, it's connected.
Kirkland was in prison, says Jesus. Man, so was Bernard Hopkins. Benavidez says Boo Boo problem, says Big Bro. Yeah, he's fighting guys on his level. Boo Boo's on his level. He's not on Canelo's level yet, but he has to beat those guys first to get on that level. Chino Castillo says Flash knockdown. Yeah, man, it's going to be intriguing. It's going to be intriguing to see. I'm trying to scroll back to some of the comments here. You guys are live in the chat. Shout out to all you guys checking in. But yeah, man, look, all I know is Charlo's getting a payday. So he'll be happy either way, man. I think once he sees how much he's getting, once he feels the power, I think he's going to be content to go 12, to save face, and survive another day, to continue fighting. Kirkland was just released from prison when he fought Canelo. I mean, I think either way he was going to get knocked out. But, yeah, I think Charlo survives. And I think he'll be content after the fight. He's being very respectful. I think he'll be even more respectful after the fight. He's probably going to be $10 million richer, or maybe even more. Canelo's going to take his cool 50 and go get some rest and then get ready for the next one. But hopefully it's a good fight. As Canelo said, these guys have been talking trash for a while. Now it's time to back it up. Charlo said he's winning because he's a lion. Canelo said, I don't know what animal I have to say to beat a lion, but I'm going to be that animal. And Canelo looks relaxed, and we'll see. I think Charlo's going to have to earn his respect early in the fight. First 2-3 rounds, land something big, or else this will probably be a near shutout. But, yeah, hopefully we get a good fight. The card looks promising for the first time ever. PBC actually stacking a card. So I'm excited for it. We'll see how much it sells. I think they've been doing a pretty decent job with the All Access, promoting it. Of course, put Canelo's name alone kind of promotes these events. But we'll see what the numbers look like, once the dust settles. And like I said, we'll be back next week to break it all down. Chris has a knockout.
Yeah.
I'm saying decision for Canelo.
I was going to say, Joe, I think PBC is stacking the card because they're get out of the boxing game. There's rumors.
Yeah.
As for the payday, I'm proud of you. When I asked a question about a moral victory, I thought you would have said that he's in the payday. That's the ultimate victory that you need right there.
Oh.
Proud of you that you didn't say that.
Yeah, you were kind of cutting in and out, Chris, but I think I got some of that. He mentioned Showtime. There's rumors of Showtime that they'll no longer be in boxing, kind of like HBO. So, yeah, maybe they're trying to get this one last one. Maybe that's why they're finally trying to make Benavidez fight someone. And they're trying to make all these fights happen. But, yeah, we'll see. And just like El Chino says here, Charlo doesn't lose no matter what. With that payday, he has a perfect excuse about the weight difference. And, yeah, he's in a win-win situation. He can say, hey, look, I went up to his weight class, so no shame in that. He was supposed to beat me, right? And he walks away with 10, 15 million. So he can't lose. And we'll see what his attitude is like on fight night after round 1, 2, 3. Let's see if he wants to get pummeled for 12 rounds or not. But hopefully it's a good fight. And yeah, I mean, that's all I can say. That's all I got. Shout out to Crawford. Not sure if he'll be there. He said he wants the winner or whatnot, but he still has Arrow, on his ass trying to get that rematch. But yeah, that's all I got, Chris. Not sure if you missed anything. Actually, I lied. There was some action. I wouldn't call it action last weekend. Jose Chon Cepeda lost to Hitchinson in what a lot of people labeled a boring fight. You know, Chris, I saw so many comments that this fight was boring that I didn't even bother watching. I saw some clips, and I'm like, that's enough. Pretty much shut out. Jose Chon lost, and it wasn't even close from what I hear.
I didn't even see the fight.
You didn't miss anything.
I didn't even know that. So,
and then Jessica
it's sure
McCaskill.
that then.
And then Jessica McCaskill's controversial split draw. I caught parts of that one, and people were not happy about that fight. Those fights were on the zone, of course, last Saturday. But you know, Zhang was the one that took all the headlines with that KO over Joyce.
Yeah, again, hey, if Chon lost, then maybe back up.
Yeah, well, that's all I got. Thank you guys. Jesus, man, somebody gives Jesus some limon. He got the salt over there already. Give him some limon and a modelo or something. Hey, Jesus, you know you'll be watching Canelo, and you know you'll be admiring him this weekend, man. We want to see you come back next week here next week to the podcast, and we can get your take on Canelo's win. But you know, let's not celebrate too early. Anything can happen in boxing. We'll be back next week to break it all down. Thank you guys again for keeping the chat lit. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Thank you for all the comments on the live chat. Of course, if you're new to the channel, be sure to survive. Shout out to Chris. I know he disappeared there on your screen. He turned blue for some reason, but you know, as I said, if you guys are new to the channel, please subscribe. Follow us at againstdaropes, against the ropes, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Threads, if that's even still alive and nobody goes on that thing anymore. But yeah, make sure to follow us, and we got to get some interviews soon. Chris, Right Hook Roxy announced her pro debut October 21st. Alan Garcia, I believe, is fighting soon as well on the 14th. I think he's on the Janibek undercard on ESPN. And then Yoka's fighting too on November. So Coach G's staying busy with her fighters in the next couple months. So we got to go out there and get some interviews. Hopefully Friday or Saturday I can go out there. And then I also wanted to mention before we get out of here, Chris, some fights that have been announced. Tim Zhu against Brian Mendoza. And Mendoza knocked out the Tower in Inferno. Nice. So that's October 15th. That's actually coming up soon. That's in Australia. Navarrete and Conceição, that's been announced for November 16th, if my mind serves me correct. Navarrete Conceição, Shakur Stevenson against De Los Santos as well. So doubleheader. That's on a Thursday night in Vegas. Bit surprising. Zurdo's fighting at cruiserweight. I gotta confirm the date for that, but they've announced that one. And then Haney against Regis Prograis. Devin Haney against Regis. They're announcing it now. They're saying San Francisco as well.
Damn.
So it's a lot.
Devin's Regis Prograis.
Yeah, it's a lot going on in the world of boxing. So we're gonna have a lot more to talk about, you know, even after this fight. But but yeah. Last comment here, Chino Castillo says, Spence and Crawford fight at 154. They should fight for the belt that Charlo is losing for the fight at 168. Yeah, for sure. I think Haney has lost one of the belts at 35 too. I think they stripped it. What, WBC? I think that's the one that Shakur is fighting for in that weight class, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, let's go ahead and get out of here. About an hour 15. Shout out to all you guys here in the comment section. We'll be back next week. Thank you, mates. We'll be back soon. Payday. Payday. We can't say let's go, mates, man, because Joyce got knocked out. We'll just say xie xie in honor of Zilei Zhang. Xie xie.
Xie xie.
There you go, mates. Let's go.
Michael, you already know I'm a fun guy.
Hola amigos, soy Juan Francisco AtR. Quiero mandar un saludo para mis amigos de Contra las Cuerdas. Que se les muchas ganas. Un abrazo, muchas bendiciones.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. You know what mine is? Let's box, bitches. It's almost fight night.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. Thank you for the support. Keep doing your thing. You're doing a great job. So thank you and best wishes.
Huge shout out to Against the Ropes.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. Thank you guys for the interview and hope to see you guys soon.
Against the Ropes, always doing the right thing.
Shout out to Against the Ropes, man. I appreciate you guys for having me, taking the time on y'all.